The champagne cork popped at exactly 9:47 p.m. In the living room, 32 people cheered. In the bedroom at the end of the hall, Mama Adeyemi took what would be her last conscious breath. No one heard it. No one came. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what really happened that Christmas Eve, because what the Adeyemi family doesn't know yet is that someone was watching. Someone saw everything. And before this night is over, every single person in that house will know the truth about what they did to Mama Adeyemi. If you want to hear stories that expose the darkness hiding behind closed doors, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to tell you will make you question everything you think you know about family. 3 weeks earlier, Mama Adeyemi sat in Dr. Okonkwo's office and heard the words that would seal her fate. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 weeks, maybe 8. Dr. Okonkwo's eyes were kind but honest when he told her there was nothing more they could do except manage the pain. Mama Adeyemi was 73 years old. She'd raised 4 children in the sprawling 2-story house in Lekki, the same house her late husband had built with his own hands before his shipping business made them wealthy. The same house she'd filled with love and sacrifices and endless forgiveness. Chief Adeyemi had died 12 years ago, and since then, her children had become her entire world. There was Chukwudi, the oldest at 48, a real estate developer who drove a Range Rover Sport and wore a gbada that cost more than most people's monthly salary. His wife, Ngozi, ran a lifestyle brand called Elegant Living Lagos that had 2 million followers across Instagram and TikTok. They had twin boys, Chima and Chidi, both 17 and entirely absorbed in their phones. Then came Funmilayo, 45, twice divorced, with a daughter named Zara, who was 22 and studying to be an influencer. Funmilayo worked in pharmaceutical sales and was always busy traveling between Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. The third was Emeka, 42, who'd moved to South Africa 5 years ago to find himself and only visited twice a year, always with his hand out in a new business venture that needed funding. The youngest was Adana, 39, a corporate lawyer at one of Victoria Island's top firms who billed hundreds of thousands of naira per hour and had made partner at her firm 3 years early. She was unmarried, childless, and according to her, far too busy for trivial obligations. When Mama Adeyemi called them all to tell them about the diagnosis, their responses were as different as their personalities, but the pattern was the same. Chukwudi: Mama, that's terrible. Listen, I'm closing a huge property deal in Banana Island right now, but we'll definitely visit soon. Have you talked to an estate lawyer? We should probably discuss the house and Papa's assets. Funmilayo: Mama, this is awful timing. Zara's got this huge opportunity for a brand partnership with a major skincare company. Can we talk after the holidays? Emeka: Wow, Mama. Heavy. Really heavy. Listen, I'm actually in a really transformative place right now with my life coach in Cape Town. Death is just a transition, you know? Hey, do you think you could send me 2 million naira? This investment opportunity in Johannesburg? Adana: Mother, I'll send you information about the best oncologists in Lagos and even India if necessary. You need to be strategic about this. I have a major case at the High Court next week, but I'll see what I can fit in. Only Chukwudi's wife Ngozi said, we'll come this weekend. And they did, all of them. But not because they wanted to comfort Mama Adeyemi in her final weeks. They came because Mama Adeyemi's house was worth over 500 million naira. And that wasn't counting the land Papa had bought in Ikoyi before he died. Here's what Mama Adeyemi didn't know. 2 days after her diagnosis, Chukwudi had called his siblings for a video conference call. The topic wasn't their mother's comfort or care. It was the inheritance. Look, we need to be realistic, Chukwudi had said, his voice carrying that practiced tone of reason he used in business meetings. Mama's got maybe 2 months. The house is in her name. Papa's properties are in trust. We need to make sure she updates everything properly. Equal splits, no confusion, no stories. What if she wants to donate some of it to the church? Adana had asked, always the lawyer, always thinking of loopholes. Then we convince her otherwise, Chukwudi had replied simply. Come for Christmas, be present, show her we care, make sure she remembers who was there for her. It was Funmilayo who'd suggested hosting Christmas at the house. It'll cheer her up, she'd said. One last big family Christmas. You know how Mama loves hosting? She'd love that. What Mama Adeyemi would have loved was honesty. What she would have loved was for one of her children to sit with her in the quiet moments when the pain medication wore off and the fear crept in. What she would have loved was to not die alone. But she was going to die alone anyway. They just made sure she'd be surrounded by people when she did. Now here's where the story gets interesting, because there was someone in that house who saw everything. Someone who understood exactly what was happening. Someone who'd been watching the Adeyemi family for 3 weeks and had decided that the truth needed to come out. Her name was Amaka Nwosu, and she was Mama Adeyemi's hospice nurse. Amaka was 34, efficient, and carried a quiet anger at the world's injustices that she'd learned to channel into fierce advocacy for her patients. She trained at the University of Lagos Teaching Hospital and had seen neglect before. She'd seen families who couldn't cope, who stayed away because death frightened them. That was human. But the Adeyemis weren't frightened. They were calculating. She'd overheard Chukwudi on the phone discussing property values in Victoria Island. She'd watched Funmilayo take photos of the house's interior. For memories, she'd claimed. But Amaka had seen her measuring rooms with her eyes, already redecorating. She'd listened to Amika ask his mother, while she was barely conscious from pain medication, if she remembered that loan she'd given him 10 years ago. Because technically, Mama, that should come out of my inheritance share, Abi, since you already gave me that money. And she'd watched Adana bring her mother documents to sign, legal papers that Mama Adeyemi's morphine-clouded mind couldn't possibly comprehend. The most damning moment came 6 days before Christmas. Mama Adeyemi had woken from a nap, confused and afraid. She'd called out for help. Amaka had been in the kitchen, but she'd heard it. So had Chukwudi and Ngozi, who were in the living room just 30 feet away. Amaka had rushed to Mama Adeyemi's room. Chukwudi and Ngozi had continued their conversation about whether to renovate the kitchen or gut it completely once they took possession. That's when Amaka decided. These people needed to face what they were doing, and she knew exactly how to make that happen. Christmas Eve arrived with Harmattan haze and the smell of jollof rice. Ngozi had hired caterers from one of the top companies on the island. It'll be beautiful for the brand, she'd explained. The house was transformed into a Christmas wonderland. Decorations everywhere. A massive Christmas tree imported from South Africa. Ankara fabric draped artistically. Enough decorative elements to fill a department store. Mama Adeyemi's bedroom door remained closed. The guests started arriving at 6. Chukwudi's business partners and their wives, dressed in the finest lace and George fabrics. Funmilayo's colleagues from the pharmaceutical company. Adana's firm's senior partners. Ngozi's influencer friends, all perfectly styled in designer pieces, all posting constantly with hashtags about family and blessings. By 7, the party was in full swing. Champagne flowed alongside palm wine and Chapman. The catered food was impeccable. Small chops, suya, pepper soup, grilled fish, fried rice, jollof rice, moi, puff puff. Christmas music mixed with Afro beats. Everyone complimented the house, not knowing they were literally celebrating in what would soon be a dead woman's estate. Mama Adeyemi lay in her bedroom, 47 feet from the celebration. She could hear the music, the laughter, people speaking in English, Yoruba and Igbo. Amaka had checked on her at 6:30. Her vital signs were declining. She had hours, maybe less. "Would you like me to get your children?" Amaka had asked gently. Mama Adeyemi had shaken her head, tears sliding into her gray hair. "They're entertaining guests," she'd whispered. "You know how it is. Let them enjoy their party. That's the Nigerian way. The guests must be happy." That's the moment that still breaks my heart. This woman, dying, still protecting the feelings of the children who'd abandoned her, still worried about appearances, about what people would say. But Amaka wasn't going to let it stand. At 8:15, she walked into the living room where Chukwudi was toasting his business success with a group of admirers, speaking about his latest Banana Island development. She said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Excuse me, Oga Chukwudi, your mother is dying, right now, in the next room. I thought you should know." The room didn't go silent immediately. It took a few seconds for people to process what she'd said, for the words to cut through the music and chatter. Chukwudi's face went red. That's not appropriate." We're aware of Mama's condition. Are you? Amaka cut him off. Her voice was calm, clinical, devastating. Because she's been calling for you for the past 20 minutes. Her breathing is labored. Her pulse is weak. She's in the active dying process, and you're out here drinking champagne and eating small chops. Ngozi stepped forward, her influencer smile faltering. This party is for her, to celebrate her life, to honor her. She can't hear you celebrating, Amaka said. The bedroom door is closed. She can just hear noise while she dies alone. That's when Funmilayo spoke up, defensive. We've been taking care of her for weeks. You've been here for 5 days total, Amaka said. And now there was fire in her voice. 5 days in 3 weeks. I've been here every single day. I've watched you, all of you. I've heard your conversations about this house, about the properties in Ikoyi, about Papa's investments, about making sure you get your fair share. I've seen you bring her legal documents to sign while she's barely conscious. I've watched you treat your dying mother like an inconvenient obstacle to your inheritance. The room was silent now, completely silent. 32 people, frozen, staring. Some of the older guests began shaking their heads. This was shameful. This was not how things should be done. Chukwudi's face had gone from red to white. You have no right. I have every right, Amaka said quietly. I'm her advocate. That's my job. And someone needs to speak for her because she's too kind, too forgiving, too loving to tell you the truth herself, too concerned about what people will say about her children. She turned to address the whole room. You want to know what your hosts have been doing? They've been planning how to divide this house while their mother struggles to breathe in the next room. They've been taking photos for renovation plans. They've been calculating property values. They've been making sure she signs all the right papers before she dies. That's not true, Funmilayo protested, but her voice cracked. It is true, said a new voice. Everyone turned. In the doorway to the dining room stood Chima, Chukwudi's 17-year-old son. His phone was in his hand, but for once, he wasn't looking at it. He was looking at his father. I heard you, Chima said. His voice shook. Last week, you and Mama, talking about how Grandmama was taking too long to die because you wanted to list the house before the rainy season. You laughed about it. You actually laughed. Ngozi's face crumbled. Chima, you don't understand the context. I understand that Grandmama is dying and you're throwing a party, Chima said. I understand that you told me we were doing this to make her happy, but she's not even here. When's the last time any of you actually sat with her? Just sat with her? No one answered. Adana tried to recover the situation. Ever the lawyer, ever the strategist. This is a family matter. This isn't appropriate for witnesses, Amaka interrupted. You're right. It's not appropriate for all these people to see what you really are. But maybe that's exactly what needs to happen. She pulled out her phone. I've been documenting everything. It's my job to keep records of patient care and patient neglect. I have recordings of your conversations, photos of the documents you've pressured her to sign, timestamps of every moment one of you was supposed to be caring for her and instead was planning her estate division. That's illegal, Adana started. Check your laws, counselor, Amaka said calmly. And more importantly, it's necessary. Because you know what your mother told me yesterday? She told me she was grateful. Grateful that you all came for Christmas. She thought you were here because you loved her. The silence was different now, heavier. Someone in the crowd, one of the older women, began crying quietly, shaking her head. She's dying believing you love her, Amaka continued. That's the one mercy in all of this. She doesn't know the truth, but you do, and now everyone here knows it too. Chukwudi's business partner, a man named Chief Oladel, set down his champagne glass. I think we should go. He looked at Chukwudi with something between pity and disgust. Happy Christmas. The exodus began. One by one, the guests left. Some quickly, some with backward glances and disapproving headshakes. The influencers stopped filming. The business partners made excuses. The society women whispered to each other. Within 15 minutes, the house was empty except for the Adeyemi family and Amaka. In the sudden quiet, they could hear it, a faint sound from the bedroom, a struggle for breath, a small, soft call. Nuayam, my children? Mama Adeyemi was awake, and she was calling for someone. Anyone. Chukwudi moved first, finally. He walked to his mother's bedroom and opened the door. Mama Adeyemi lay in the bed, so small now, the cancer having stolen so much weight from her frame. Her eyes were clouded but open. When she saw Chukwudi, she smiled. That same loving smile she'd given him his whole life. "Did everyone leave?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. I hoped. I hoped I'd get to see them, to greet them properly." Chukwudi's face crumbled. He sank to his knees beside the bed. Mama, I'm so sorry, forgive me." One by one, the others came in, Funmilayo crying, Emeka pale and shaking. Adana, her lawyer's mask finally cracked. Chima and Chidi, Zara, even Ngozi, stripped of her camera and her performance. They crowded into that room, all of them, and for the first time in 3 weeks, they actually looked at Mama Adeyemi. Really looked at her, saw what they'd been avoiding. She was dying, right now, and they'd wasted every precious moment they had left. "Tell me about the party," Mama Adeyemi whispered. "Was it beautiful? Did people enjoy the food?" "No," Chukwudi said, his voice breaking. "No, Mama, it wasn't beautiful. Nothing about this has been beautiful. I've been so wrong. We've all been so wrong." Mama Adeyemi's hand, frail and trembling, reached for his. "It's okay, my son. You're here now. That's what matters." But it wasn't okay. They all knew it wasn't okay. For the next 3 hours, they sat with her. They held her hands. They told her stories about when they were children, about Papa, about the house when it was new. They apologized over and over, though she kept saying there was nothing to forgive, that she understood they were busy people with important lives. Amaka stayed in the corner, monitoring vitals, adjusting medications, bearing witness. At 11:52 p.m., Mama Adeyemi spoke her last words. "My beautiful children, I'm so proud of you. I love you all so much." At 12:03 a.m. Christmas Day, Mama Adeyemi died. She died surrounded by her children, holding their hands, believing she was loved. She died never knowing the truth that Amaka had exposed. And maybe that was the final gift they gave her. Ignorance, the mercy of not knowing how little they'd valued her until it was too late. The aftermath was quiet. The caterers came to collect their equipment in silence. The house that had been so bright and festive now felt like a tomb. Amaka packed her equipment. Before she left, Chukwudi stopped her at the door. "I don't know if I should thank you or curse you," he said. His eyes were red, devastated. "Neither," Amaka said. "I didn't do it for you. I did it for her. She deserved to have someone fight for her dignity. She died thinking we loved her," Chukwudi said. "Was that mercy or cruelty? To not let her know the truth?" "She knew," Amaka said quietly. "Some part of her knew. People always know when they're not valued. But she loved you anyway. That's what real love is. Unconditional. Unearned. Free. The kind of love our mothers give us in this country. The love that never asks for anything in return." She paused at the door. "You didn't deserve her, but she loved you anyway. What you do with that knowledge, whether you become better people because of it, or whether you go right back to who you were, that's up to you." She left them there in that house worth over 500 million naira, with all their regrets and their shame, and their mother's body cooling in the bedroom. 3 months later, the house sold. Chukwudi, Funmilayo, Emeka, and Adana split the proceeds equally, just as they'd planned. The Ikoyi properties were divided. Papa's investments were liquidated and shared. But something had changed. Chima, who'd witnessed his father's breakdown and his grandmother's death, refused to speak to his parents for 6 weeks. When he finally did, it was to tell them he was using his inheritance from his grandmother. His portion came to 20 million naira to start a foundation for hospice care in Lagos. Funmilayo quit her pharmaceutical job and went back to school to study social work. She stopped returning Zara's calls about influencer opportunities and started volunteering at an elderly care home in Surulere. Emeka actually paid Amaka to tell him exactly what his mother had said about him in those final weeks. Amaka told him the truth, that Mama Adeyemi had worried about him, loved him, prayed for him, hoped he'd find peace and purpose. Emeka cried for 3 hours. He got a real job in Lagos. He stopped asking family members for money. He started a grief support group at his church. Adana took a leave of absence from her firm. She never went back. Last I heard, she was teaching business law at the University of Lagos and visiting nursing homes and hospitals on weekends, just sitting with dying patients who had no family. And Chugwudi kept the business, kept the Range Rover, kept the expensive Agbada, but he also kept the photo that Amaka had taken, the one from that last night when they were all crowded around Mama Adeyemi's bed, all of them finally present, finally there, finally too late. He kept it on his desk at his office in Victoria Island, and sometimes late at night when everyone had gone home, he'd look at it and remember the woman who'd loved him unconditionally and the man he'd been when she was dying. And he'd wonder if it was possible to become someone she could have been proud of. If it was possible to deserve, retroactively, the love she'd given him for free. If redemption was real or if some betrayals were too deep to ever truly heal. I don't know the answer to those questions, but I know this. Mama Adeyemi died on Christmas, surrounded by family, believing she was loved. And maybe in that final moment, the lie they gave her was the only true gift they could offer. The truth came too late to save her, but maybe, just maybe, it came in time to save them. If this story affected you, if it made you think about the people you love and whether you're showing them what they mean to you while you still have time, hit that subscribe button. Because the truth is always worth telling, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. And if you have someone in your life, a parent, a grandparent, a friend, who you've been meaning to call, meaning to visit, meaning to tell them what they mean to you, don't wait. Don't plan it for later. Don't assume you'll have time. Because Mama Adeyemi thought her children would be there when it mattered, and she was wrong. Make it right while you can, before the party ends and all you're left with is regret. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story.